Hello everybody, welcome back to the South Alabama Piper channel. I'm Lance, your host. Hope y'all had a great week. Sitting out here on this Saturday morning. It's cloudy today. I think we're supposed to get some rain, but I need to get out here and I need to do a little annual service on my lawnmower that I should have already done. I normally like to have it done really before the season starts good, but as y'all know, that hasn't happened with everything that's been going on the past few months. Got my Peterson Iran Series 999 with some good old Granger. Yes, some Granger. I tried this morning. I tried to reach for something different. I couldn't do it. It's like that Granger was just drawing me in. Why you gonna start barking? Hush, hush. Gotta love dogs. I hear one dog barking, the whole county's gotta start barking, right? Maybe you can tune that out. So, just for anybody that has any issues with it, I'm gonna make sure I put in the title of this video a random railroad ramble. Yes, random railroad ramble. Say that fast 10 times or even 5 times. I am going to try to, I'm still going to try to gather up some information to get a specific topic going maybe. And, but right now I figured I'd just get on here and just do a little rambling off the top of my head. So I figured you could light up a bowl and let's talk a little bit about it. Maybe, just maybe one day I'll get brave enough to try a live stream. I would like to try a live stream and just have y'all ask some questions, but the way my luck usually goes, if I don't get up, well, I'm usually always up early in the morning anyway, at daylight or a little before. But if I don't try to make a video that early, more than likely I'm not going to get one in without any kind of interruption. That's just kind of my quiet time. Everybody else is usually still sleeping, so I have to get out and enjoy my quiet time, talk to the Lord, watch the sun come up, listen to the birds singing, and that's just kind of my peaceful time. So that's usually when I have to try to make a video now. I don't know how well a live stream will work that early in the morning anyway. Probably not very good. So anyway, for now, we'll keep it like this. I will try to get together some stuff, hopefully, and maybe do a little bit of history of the American railroads. I think that would be a good topic. How things got started and all that. But this just gonna be a little random ramble. So if I kind of just go off and start rambling, it's all good. I do know I'd had some questions. One in particular that, well, before I kind of get into that, I'll just kind of start off on. I never planned to get in the railroad industry, but it worked out. And I'll tell you, for any of you younger guys, especially if you're young and single, go for it. You know, or younger gals, I should say guys and gals, because there are several women that work on the railroad, I'll say. But if you're single, you know, no kids, no wife, go for it. It's a great career to get into, and it's not as, let me put it this way, it's not as fun now as it was at one point. They have gotten so crazy with the rules and everything, and it's just not, it ain't what it used to be. All right, we used to have fun at work. We used to do some crazy stuff too. Man, these things is gonna get me today, I guess. But it is a great career. You make good money. You know, the schedule's tough. I'm not gonna lie to you, especially starting out for the first probably a couple of years, 2-3 years, just depends. You're gonna be on call, what they call the extra board. You're gonna be on call 24/7. You never know when you're working. You never know when you're gonna be off. Well, I say that depending on the union contract, you might know when you're gonna be off. Every railroad's different with their union contracts. Some railroads, I think it's already sprinkling rain, y'all. Some railroads in their union contract for their extra board guys, they have certain off days, set off days. Like some of them get like these 2 days off that month or whatever. So some of them you kind of know what days you're gonna be off. Some of them you don't. And sometimes you may get an off day and not even know that you was gonna get it. So in a way, it does suck. I'm not gonna lie, it does. Because a lot of times you may be off that day, but you never even knew you was gonna be off. So you can't plan nothing. You can't go do anything. Most railroads on the extra board will give you a hour-and-a-half call, meaning they will call you an hour and a half before it's time for you to be on duty. So it's not like you can go and, oh, I'm gonna go do this and hurt. Well, you can go do whatever, but you better be able to make it to work within an hour and a half when they call you. Now, some railroads are generous. Some of them, like ours, used to give us a 2-hour call. So you'd get a 2-hour call. Some railroads, you can go on the board, you can look on the computer, and you can kind of see how far out you are, meaning how many people are ahead of you to get called for different trains, for different jobs. And so you can kind of guesstimate it a little bit. But starting out, it's not fun. I will say that. But they pay you for what you do. You get paid good. a lot of times you may get called, you may get put on a train, and you may have to go, you may even cross, go to a different state that day. You can only work 12 hours by law. That's all you can work in a shift. Now, you may sit on a train for longer than that, but you're going to get paid. But you can't perform any service. You can't do anything. So from the time you go on duty, from the time you clock in or sign in, however railroads, whichever railroad, they all do it different. So from the time you clock in, you have 12 hours from that point that you can perform service. Now, you may be on a train, you may be on the line of road going somewhere, but you better give yourself enough time to get somewhere to stop that train and not block any crossings and all that. Sometimes you can't do nothing about it, but you should try to plan ahead. There's different situations, everything happens, but you're supposed to give yourself enough time to get that train somewhere where you're not going to block any crossings, you're not going to do all that, and you wait on another crew to come get you. Sometimes you have to tie that train down to leave it there, so you got to give yourself enough time for that. But now, after 12, you can't perform any service after that 12-hour mark. You better not be doing nothing. You got to be done. You may still sit on that train for another hour even, you're still getting paid. You're still on the clock until somebody comes to pick you up. You can't even drive. You can't even drive a company vehicle or anything after that 12-hour mark. Somebody comes get you, taxi or whatever comes get you. A lot of railroads have their taxi companies that they use and stuff. Or it may be, your boss or whoever comes to get you, whatever. And once you get back to that terminal or whatever, to the depot and you clock out, that's your time. You get paid up to that point. Now, by federal law, you're required to have 10 hours rest. All right, I'm gonna have to pause this and get under some cover because everything's getting wet. Stand by. Sorry about that, y'all. I had to take shelter. It's starting to rain. I know the lighting's not as good here. I'm sorry. I apologize. Y'all have to bear with me. Lost my tripod also, so I'm having to improvise. Hopefully this will be okay. But anyway, so the longest you can work is 12 hours. All right, let me fire this back up. Oh. All right, so yeah, I remember where I was. So by federal law, you have to have 10 hours rest. Now, if you're on duty, meaning if you're on the clock, more than 12 hours, you have to start adding to your rest time. Whoops. So let's just say you get stuck on a train out there and somebody comes gets you, you get back, you get off the clock in 13 hours. You get paid for 13 hours. Well, you have to add an additional hour to your rest time. So now, instead of 10 hours rest, you got to have 11 hours rest. Meaning, they cannot call you. Nobody can call you. The crew caller, which is what they usually call it, nobody, not even your boss, nobody can call you within that 11-hour rest time, period. It's called undisturbed rest. You have to have, if you work, let's just say less than 12 hours, you have to have 10 hours undisturbed rest. You cannot be disturbed. If they call you and disturb your rest, and you actually answer the phone, and acknowledge it, you can start your rest over. Meaning if you get off, you go home, your boss calls you within 2 hours of you being off, say, hey, what'd you do over here, such and such? Guess what? You just disturbed my rest. I'm starting my 10 hours over. And there ain't nothing they can do about it. See, it wasn't always like that. I don't remember exactly which year it was. I forget now what year it was that the FRA, or the Federal Railroad Administration, kind of like the FAA of airlines. I forget what year it was that they put that out. It had to do with that big, I think it was the Amtrak wreck they had out in California or somewhere, killed all those people. That might have been a different one. That might have been the cell phone thing. Anyway, it had to do with guys not getting enough rest. They were falling asleep, that kind of stuff. But back in the day, you could make some money. And I tell you what we used to do. Some guys wouldn't do it because they didn't care, but we used to show off, depending on what time you come in that day, like if it was early that morning or something. We'd show off in like 11 hours and 59 minutes. If you did that, you could come back in 8 hours. Now, the way that worked, back then, let's just say you worked 12 hours. You still had to have 10 hours rest. However, it didn't have to be 10 hours undisturbed rest. They could call you, let's just say you would get a 2-hour call. They could call you in 8 hours to be back in 10 hours. So you come in off your rest in 10 hours. But a lot of times what we would do is, if we really want to make a lot of money, you could come in and you could get 2 starts in the same day. So a lot of times we'd show off in 11 hours, 59 minutes. We'd come back in 8 hours. So some guys didn't like to do that. Some of us did. And also back then, you could work 7 days a week. And that was kind of another reasoning behind the whole FRA putting out the rest thing, because I remember one time I worked, it was like 42 or 43 days straight without a day off. Now it may not have been off my rest every day, I might have come back in like 13 hours or something. But every consecutive days I worked, like it was either 42 or 43, something like that. I finally told my boss, I said, look, I gotta have a day off. I said, I ain't gonna make it. They called me that one day to come in. And I told them, I said, I ain't gonna make it. I got to have some rest. I'm not gonna make it. So, it's good that they don't do that anymore. Now, the most you can work now, if you can work 6 consecutive days. All right? You can have 6 consecutive starts. If you do that, once you get off work on that, after that 6 consecutive start, you are required to have 48 hours off. Most railroads are not going to let you work 6 consecutive days, and there is ways around it. I'll tell you that in a minute. Most of them's not going to let you do that because they don't want you to be off for 48 hours. You can work 7 consecutive days, however. But the only way that I know of, or that I remember, that you're allowed to do that, let's just say you get on a train on your sixth consecutive start. Let's just say you get on this train here. You can go from point A to point B. Well, of course, when you get to point B, you're away from your home terminals. Like everybody has a home terminal, just, whatever depot, whatever location that you actually work out of. So you can get on a train and go from point A to point B on your sixth consecutive day. Once you get to point B and you get off, you're done. You can't perform any service on a seventh consecutive day, but what happens is, one way or the other, you have to get back to your home terminal. So what happens is that technically that ends up being a seventh consecutive start. Now, I don't remember all the rules. I don't remember if you're allowed to drive a company vehicle on that seventh start. I don't remember how. It's all so much crap. I don't remember how it all works. But either way, my understanding, that was the only way that you could work 7 consecutive days. You can't actually work and perform service on that 7th day. My understanding. I could be wrong on that. You may be able to bring a train back to get back to your home terminal. I can't remember. Either way, with that 7th consecutive days, now you have to have 72 hours of rest off. I have heard of that happening once or twice from guys that I know, and I don't remember the exact circumstances, but it has happened. That is very rarely gonna happen. And since I never got back in this part of the video, I gotta cut this in real quick, because I didn't tell you. I was gonna tell you the other way around them. The way the railroad gets around getting 6 consecutive starts, what'll happen is if you get off, let's just say you get off at 5 o'clock in the morning. What they'll do is, as long as you have 24 hours off, that starts your days over. So it doesn't matter as far as the consecutive days, like a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It goes basically kind of by your hours. So if they give you 24 hours off, that starts your consecutive days over. So that's kind of what that's kind of their way of getting around you getting your start. Because you think, oh, if I get off, let's just say I get off at 6 o'clock on a Tuesday evening. Well, guess what? They can bring you back in at 6 o'clock on Wednesday evening, and that's your 24 hours off. So now your consecutive starts has done started over. You're gonna come in. You got Tuesday, you get off on Tuesday. You're gonna come in on Wednesday, but it's gonna be at 6 o'clock in the evening to get you 24 hours off to start your days over. So that's how that works. But it has happened. So it's a good thing, that they did that, because it'll wear you out. It'll wear you out. It's a lot. It's tiring. You can make some money back then. You can still make money now, but you can really make money back then. But it's tiring. So if you're a single guy or gal, you're young, even if you're not young, if you're depending on what kind of shape you're in, it's especially if you're in your 30s, even, go for it. If you're in your 40s, depending on what kind of shape you're in, maybe. Any older than that, I wouldn't. It's brutal. It's brutal on your body. Certain jobs, that is. Not all of it. There's a lot of physical work involved, especially to start out with. You know, and the other thing, you're going to be working holidays, you're going to be working weekends, you're going to be working nights, you're going to be working all kind of crap. It ain't like shift work. It ain't like 11 to 7, you know, 7 to 3, whatever. It's going to be all times of the night, crazy hours. You know, you may have to go in at 1 o'clock in the morning. I mean, just stuff like that. It's a whole different lifestyle. But if you're, and it's not for everybody. But it's a good career. Good job, you know. If it wasn't for railroads, this country would be in not so good shape, you know. And also truck drivers, may I add. Anybody in transportation, thank you for what you do. Because that's what America runs on. All right, if it wasn't for the transportation industry, we wouldn't get the stuff we need. Thank y'all. Got to move the freight. Railroad don't take a day off. You gonna work in tornadoes. You gonna work in storms. You know, whatever. Now down here where I'm at, hurricanes, depending on how bad it's gonna hit, you might not be working. Most of the time, if a hurricane was coming in, we'd take all the cars out of the rail yard, clear out the rail yard, because that yard's gonna flood. And so we'd have to move all that out, and basically, you pull everything out on the main line. They call it the main line. That's where everything, you know, runs. And you got to clear the yard out. So if the hurricane hits, that's about the only time you're gonna be off, or I say be off. Pretty much a waiting game, depending on how bad that gets. But it's but if you start out, for any of you guys or gals that's thinking about it or already doing it, if you see this video, I mean, I know this is more of a pipe smoking type deal, but anyway, with this railroad series, if you just started out and you kind of getting discouraged, it will get better. You got to pay your time. You got to pay your dues. All right. It sucks. It does suck. Sometimes it may be a year. Sometimes it may be 3-4 years. But once you get enough seniority built up, and you get enough people hired under you, you get people that retire off. Once you get enough seniority to hold a steady job with regular off days, it's so much better. It's so much better. You're not on call. You know what your off days are every week. And it does make it so much better just knowing. You know what I mean? You have something to kind of look forward to. That was another thing that was kind of bad about the extra board, is you didn't really have an off day to look forward to, or in my situation, we didn't. Some railroads do. They're not all the same. But we didn't have a set off day to look forward to. So you never knew, you know, when you was gonna be off. You know, and it sucks. You may sit around all day waiting on a phone call, and you never get a phone call, and it's like, man, if I would have only known that I was gonna be off, I could have went and done such and such. But you can't go do nothing because you don't know. So I've rambled long enough. I don't want these videos to be like 45 minutes long. If it's not already, I don't know. I may have to make some cuts in this stuff. There's a little ramble. I may just do some ramble videos, you know, whatever comes to mind. If you guys have anything in particular, I know there's been a couple of things on another video that y'all left a comment about what you wanted to know about. Comment again, let me know. I'm gonna look at this stuff, write it down, whatever. Write this down, take a little. Anyway, that song just come in my head. Let me know, leave me a comment. Let me know in particular what you want to know about. I'll talk about it. And might just do some ramble videos a little bit. Let you share a bowl with me. I can't keep this one lit. I'm doing too much talking. I'm gonna get me a I Am Corona one of these days. That's what I really want. But yeah, I don't want these videos to be too terribly crazy long, so just a little random railroad ramble for you. For any haters out there saying that I'm taking too long to get to the topic of my video, that's the topic of my video. All right, a random railroad ramble. I had to think for a minute. I'm getting all confused. So leave me a comment, drop me a comment down there. Let me know what you want to know about in particular, and I'll do my best. I don't know everything. People working on the railroad for 30 years tell you they learn something new every day. You learn something new every day on the railroad, so. But I'll do my best to answer it. If you got any questions, drop me a comment, let me know. Well, let's be the reason somebody smiles today. We can change the world one after random kindness at a time. And just remember, till next time, faith, family, freedom, and piping. God bless you.